Okay, we are rolling. Greetings, dear Capricorn. That's you guys. This is Tarot Lumination, and we have a little playlist here for late April 2019. I'm calling it What Now? The reason why is because I think there's a bit of an alert that needs to be sounded regarding the full moon and what that means towards the end of the month. There's a ton of other stuff going on as well. I'll give you the data, but I'm not going to do much of an analysis or anything. I'm just going to focus primarily on the implications of the full moon because it's like a double whammy. You'll see in a minute. April 11th, Jupiter goes retrograde in Sagittarius, okay? That's in your 12th house, okay? April 19th, full moon in Libra against the Aries sun. April 20th, the sun enters Taurus, Mercury now in Aries, Venus entering Aries, okay? That's harmonious for you. That's awkward. April 25th, Pluto goes retrograde in Capricorn. April 30th, Saturn goes retrograde in Capricorn. So that's a lot of emphasis on Capricorn. Mars is in Gemini all month. Let's just move on. Here's what I'm talking about. Don't be scared. This is just another Tarot Lumination Astrodoodle. Just think of it as a mini weather report. This too shall pass. The reason I'm marking this is because there's Jupiter. It's going to go retrograde, okay, for everybody. This is the full moon, okay, over here. Right over here, April 20th. Can you see that? The full moon is at 29 degrees Libra, opposing 29 degrees Sun in Aries, okay? And within moments, everything flips to like a 0 degree, 1 degree moon in Scorpio, opposing Sun in Taurus and Uranus in Taurus. So that's like, it's almost like having two full moons simultaneously. So that's a lot of pressure. So the Aries-Libra axis is technically stressful for you, Capricorn, and the Scorpio-Taurus axis is technically harmonious for you. So I don't know how you're going to find a balancing act between those. On top of that, as you get towards the end of the month, you might already be feeling it because with Saturn and Pluto, there's a big lead time into the stationary retrograde moments. So you might already be feeling it, Capricorns, as Pluto and Saturn start to go stationary retrograde. They're holding their position. That's like somebody grabbing your wrist and going like this. And they don't let go. And then it eases off as we go into the retrograde for a few months. And then it comes back to the stationary direct moment. And then it clamps on really tight. And then a few months later, it gets back to full flow again. So it's at the moments of station, okay, direct and retrograde, where the pressure is maximum. And so we're heading into that in late April. Let's put this chart and make it look like it works for you. So there's the Capricorn chart, just like that. You see? Here's all the stuff with Pluto and Saturn sitting right on top of you, Capricorn. Deep, deep, slow, profound, irreversible transformations under pressure. Okay, in other words, you can't get out of it. I'm not going to talk about the North Node right now. It's very difficult to handle it because there's no aspects there and there's so much pressure on this from the South Node. Over here, these are the full moon axes that I'm talking about here. So it's happening right on the cusp, okay, of your 4th and 5th house. Home and family over here, and true love and creativity and business and fun and enterprise and happiness over here. And when it's a full moon, by definition, relationships are highlighted and emphasized. So you will be learning a lot and experiencing a lot in the context of a full moon relationship dynamic at this time. However it works out for you, just understand that relationship dynamics are under a lot of pressure here. The Aries Libra one is relatively very stressful for you. The Taurus Scorpio one is relatively comfortable. So it's like having a hot shower and a cold shower, one after the other. Anyway, let's get on with that. I'm just going to do a little mini reading here for you guys. Hope this helps you to get through. So think of April 20th as a landmark. We're heading up to it, building up to it, and then we've got a few weeks to integrate after it and to understand and absorb what happened around the 20th. Whatever is exposed to you in your most significant relationships, Capricorn. Also, towards the end of the month, we're going into that Taurus energy, which is very comfortable for you, okay? So that should be some light relief. Cards are well shuffled in advance. No jumpers, no flyers, no oracles, no reversals. I'm sorry about that. It's just not enough time. So please, when we're doing this, watch for your sun, moon, and rising signs, especially if they're all different, and then reinterpret and create your own movie. Also, invite your invisible friends. It really, really helps. I do that here. I'd like to think of it as a team effort. Tarot Lumination is basically an instrument of an instrument. That's how I look at it. Very simple stuff. All right, so we're going to use a situational spread here because it's like a sniper bullet. We just get to the point and we just deal with it, okay? No time to mess around. Bless every single card in this deck. Bless you, Capricorn. I know it's been a long, long journey with that Pluto thing and the Saturn as well. You've got years to go, all right? So just, you're already used to it, so it's like it's hardly even aware that it's happening. Anyway, here we go. Here's the situation, here's the challenge, and here's how we're going to handle it, all right? We're talking about mostly the full moon and everything towards the end of the month. And what's the weather like? Think of it as the planets. You have the Hermit here. So my feeling is that it's time for you to become your own guiding light. And it's almost like you don't have an option anyway, because the way I look at it, the Aries Libra full moon, 29 degrees, is relatively stressful. So it's going to put you through your paces. It's going to put everybody on a kind of alert when it comes to relationships at that point in time. And you might feel that thing that happens in relationship, you know, when we do the love and relationship reports, as we intimate and separate, we intimate and separate, just like ocean waves, like our whole lives. We're always in a process of intimacy and separation, okay? And it might just be that this is one of those moments of isolation, which would be perfectly healthy, perfectly normal. Sometimes we don't know how lucky we are until we are removed from a situation and we can get some perspective and then come back into it. So, you know, you have to ultimately you have to figure it out on your own, but it's happening in the context of relationship. So if you're feeling that sense of, let's say, separation, okay, and it's way out here, please take advantage of that and use that as a measuring stick, like as a way to calibrate what's going on in your life, because so much about life is contingent upon the relationships that we keep. Okay, so what's the situation here with the Nine of Pentacles? To me, this is a really powerful message to be aware of how lucky you are, how fortunate you are, how much you have already, how much you've achieved already in terms of stability, resources, abundance, your own, let's say, integrity. There's been so much pressure for so long on all Capricorns. And I think we're getting, you know, because we're in the 20-degree and up position now, we're in the last third of the journey, and we're going to be going for a few years to come. My feeling is right now, especially for the early Capricorns and the middle Capricorns, by now you will have come to a realization that you've got, basically you have a lot of fortune, you have a lot of good fortune, you have a lot of resources, abundant skills, talents that you have amassed over this time, which gives you a relatively high degree of autonomy in such a way that my feeling is that you don't have to be scared of the energy of the Hermit here. It's more about coming to the realization like, wow, I am becoming more and more me. I am becoming more and more of my own guiding light, which makes you, Capricorns, more independent and more strong and more valuable to others. As you become more valuable to yourself, as you love thyself more and more and more, you become more valuable to others and more valued by others, okay? What's the challenges with this going forward? Okay. So it's almost like, hey, Tarot Lumination, what are you talking about? Because there's an awful lot at risk here with the 10 of Cups, a card of almost like the happiness that we would all wish for, that we could all have in some way, shape, or form. Your version of it would be uh, like, this is like a happy families card. It doesn't necessarily mean the richest. It just means the most abundant in terms of love. And having the things that count, measurable evidence of happiness in your life in terms of love. So if there's a huge discrepancy going on, okay, let me go to the chart a minute. With full moons like this, okay, I'm going to go to yours in particular. So with this full moon thing that's happening here, it's very, because it's an opposition, you know, basically moons opposite suns, moon opposite sun, there's a lot of awareness that comes into that energy that you can only get around full moons, or that you can only get in a relationship dynamic that is about oppositions, sun opposite moon, or like if you're in a love relationship where it's sun opposite sun, something like that. Like if you're hanging out with a like a Capricorn, like a Cancerian person or something, that would be the maximum polarity to you, and that would be how you would get your maximum awareness. I'll show you here on the chart, by the way, since we're doing this. Let's just say, just for an example, I'm trying to talk about the energy of polarity here, because these are two beautiful cards, but in very polarized positions. So I'm talking about the natural energy of polarity between Capricorn and Cancerian energy. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to be with a Cancerian person, but for example, every time a planet moves through Cancer, or every time the moon moves through Cancer, you might get these periods of awakening and awareness that you would only get at those periods, because that's the point of maximum awareness, as the mirror of relationship comes back to you. This is the tough one. This is the tough one. Trines are comfortable. The trines are comfortable. This is potentially the most rewarding, the most fulfilling, but it's also potentially the hardest to handle because there's nowhere to hide. This is the house of open enemies, but it's also the house of marriage. So please understand that. So my feeling is that you're coming to this awakening, a full awareness about how incredibly lucky you are. And then there's the fear of losing all that, of not having that. Like, what? Oh my God, what would happen if I lost all that? In other words, it's almost like the more joy and abundance that we have, we become more and more aware of the potential, the horrors of what would happen if we would lose all of that. And this is just an expanding thing. This is expanding and expanding. And this is something that really needs to be understood, really needs to be known. In other words, it isn't always just about climbing and achieving and attaining for Capricorns. It's also about a time to actually enjoy the rewards of all your efforts and your work and your growth and your evolution and adaptation, you know, in life, in order for you to blossom. And when you see the potential for all of that to go into jeopardy, or the potential for loss, which would be made aware sometime around that full moon, then that could be really, really scary. Okay. Let's have a look here. How do we handle that? Because this is like, to me, this looks like really, really polarized energy. I think this is very, very symbolic of the full moon itself, the polarity between the masculine and the feminine, the yes and the no, the you and the other and the you. But this is all about you, and I'm focusing on relationship, even though this is not a relationship spread. So how are we going to deal with this? Okay, you deal with it. You basically face into the unknown. You basically face and accept that the whole point, it's almost like the whole point of this reading, the whole point of you being here at all, watching videos like this, is to become aware so that you can evolve, grow, and adapt and blossom. And in this situation, it looks like you have no option except to move forward as the individual that you are, given everything that you're becoming aware of in the context of your most important relationships, knowing that you don't have an option except to go forward into the unknown, into a place where it's in some ways uncharted and where you don't maybe have a lot of experience. But guess what? In some way, that applies to all of us. I just think it's exceptionally vivid here with you, Capricorn. So I'm not saying you're left with this. It's just that, like, the path moves forward, okay? The path is there, and there are, you know, all sorts of like guideposts, and I would say intuition and, let's say, feelings that would keep you going. There's nothing, I'm not marking anything on here. It's such slender energy, but let's just bring this into play here. Let's just say you have a glimpse or a slight sense of the energy of the Cancer North Node, and it's affecting you. And it's drawing you to advance and grow and evolve. And it's almost like it's singling you out, Capricorn. And the Cancer North Node is wanting you to become more and more in touch and more aware of the Cancerian energy that the whole planet is being urged to take on. It's very hard for the planet to do this right now because there's so much pressure against the North Node. There's so much resistance against the North Node. And so this might be applying to you as well. So all I'm suggesting is, as soon as you get a glimpse or a taste or a whiff of anything that is symbolized by the North Node in Cancer, which would be almost scary, taking you into the unknown, about the energy of softness, mushiness, putting feelings first, putting home and family above career and like money and resources, and then having a chance to either salvage this or own this, or at least get a taste of it. In other words, maybe this is something you've been craving for a long time, and now is your chance. But the chance requires going into the unknown. You know, the Cancer North Node is about as polar opposite as you can get for a Capricorn, and that's just how it is. So my feeling is that's where it's headed, and you don't have an option. And basically get going, keep going. Don't be scared. And even when you get scared, please understand that this is just weather and it will pass, okay? This is simply a moment in time. This is a calendar moment. This whole thing that we're talking about here is a calendar moment. It just goes tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. This too will change. All of this will shift over to here. So, all right? So you'll be all right. All right, Capricorn? I don't have to say, I'm not going to say anything more. I don't want to spoil it. Or you can reinterpret. Watch for your sun, moon, and rising. Also cross-watch if you really want to. Thank you so much, Capricorn. I wish you all the best. If you need to check in, you know where to come. Check out the links below in the description box. Thank you for the subscribes, the likes, and the comments. I read everything, and I reply to as many as I can. Membership really helps the channel too. Again, check the links below. I wish you all the best. And please, if you've got some time, watch the video about notifications. I had no idea how complex it was, and I had to get a lot of tutorials from YouTube to explain it. So I hope it helps you. All the best, okay? We'll see you in May. Bye-bye.